What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So when it comes to hot takes on this page, usually it's me asking you guys, putting the onus on you guys to submit hot takes on my Instagram. Go follow me on my Instagram. We're probably going to have more hot take videos throughout the season. But today I'm flipping it. Today I am giving you guys 8 hot takes based on what I've seen in the first 3 weeks of the NHL season. And these are going to be spicy hot takes. These aren't going to be like, they're unlikely. These are going to be highly unlikely, but they're going to be hot takes. They're not going to be like 35% likely. They're probably going to be between like 5 to 20%. So I'm going to go bold. Again, I'm not saying these are for sure going to happen. These are just some hot takes based on what I've seen early on in the season. Let's not waste any time. And up first, Caprizov is going to win the Hart Trophy. I tried to tell you guys before the season, he was my runner-up behind Connor McDavid because, of course, you're going to pick Connor McDavid to win the Hart Trophy. But especially now that McDavid's hurt, other guys are playing good. But obviously, if he was my runner-up coming into the season, I'm going to have him winning the award. Right now, I believe he's 5th in odds at plus 750. But yeah, I would pick him. I think statistically, McDavid, McKinnon might have a better chance right now if I was able to do the percents that I actually did on my Instagram recently. But I'm picking Caprizov. When looking at it, he's playing fantastic. 5 goals, 13 assists, 18 points in 9 games right now. I believe he's the only player cooking at around a 2-point per game clip right now. And he is the definition of valuable. He's playing 22-48 right now, which is the most among a forward. And that is what like good top pair defensemen play and like low end number ones. And when looking at a most valuable case, I really like Matt Boldy. He probably caps out at an 80-85 point player. I really like Joel Eriksson. He probably caps out at 70-75 points. This guy has carried the Minnesota Wild's offense for the most part the last 3 years. And yet again, he's doing it this season. If he goes for 50 and 65, and again, McDavid misses 2 to 3 weeks, McKinnon's good, but also Makar and Rantanen are fantastic. Kucherov has a good season, but last year they didn't really vote for him. I could definitely see them go for Kirill Kaprizov. And Minnesota's playing so good. Minnesota looks like they're going to be a safe playoff team at this point. Maybe not win the Central Division because the Jets and Stars are also looking great, but with the Colorado and Nashville's kind of slow starts, they're looking like a team that's probably going to finish in the Central Division spot. Kirill Kaprizov right now is my heart pick, and rightfully so, considering I had him as the runner-up before the season. Next up, Dylan Cozens will not be on the Buffalo Sabres 12 months from now. He's having a really tough start to his season. He has 3 assists, 0 goals in 10 games right now, and again, this is not some slow start. This is a downward trend that he's on right now, considering in 2023, this guy had 31 goals, 37 assists, 68 points, signed that 7-year, $7.1 million contract during that season, looked like one of the best deals in the NHL. Last year, only 47 points. And now he's on what, like 27-point pace this season? Not saying he's going to finish with 27 points, but it is definitely not good. He even got moved to the wing in practice this week. So when looking at the Buffalo Sabres long-term, first off, he's the one guy that they would probably want to move this offseason, considering the fact that maybe someone would take a flyer on him and they could get some young, struggling player back. And yeah, they also have Konstantinos and Noah Ostlund, 2 high-end center prospects that are hopefully potentially going to turn into second-line centers. Tage Thomas is looking very good as their future number 1 center, but he is not safe and cushy, even though he has a decent contract. I think this offseason they will highly consider trading him, swapping him for another young guy that maybe needs to figure something out, maybe a right-handed defenseman because they have a gajillion left-handed defensemen, but I think Dylan Cozens definitely could be on the chopping block and potentially will be traded within the next 12 months. Next up, William Eklund, 65 points this season. I almost went to 70, but 70 is just a little bit too much. When looking at this guy's development in 2023, he was near a point per game at the AHL level. Last year, 45 points, 8 points in 10 games to start this season. And if you follow me on Twitter, you saw this insane stat. He's playing 21-11 a night. He is 9th in the entire NHL in time on ice. He's playing on a top line with Toffoli, who's been consistently around 60-ish points the last couple seasons, as well as Mikael Granlund had 60 points in 69 games last year. On top of that top power play, he is just such a dynamic winger. I loved him in his draft year. He was my number 3 prospect in 2021, and I think given the fact that Ryan Worofsky, I think that's how you pronounce it, clearly likes Eklund a lot if he's playing top 10 minutes in the entire NHL by a forward, I think he's fully going to take that next step. Really just a Swiss Army knife of a forward on that San Jose Sharks team, and when Celebrini gets back, that is potentially only going to help him more. Next up, we got Justus Annunen will be a Calder finalist. I've been botching his name. I've been saying Justice. My bad. It is like UC Soros. It's a Y more so sounding word. But Justus Annunen, when looking at him, do I think that he is a legit good starter in the NHL? Not quite yet. But when looking at him, I just said when looking at him twice, he had a 928 last year in 14 games. And this year, not playing great, but he has a 905. When you compare that to the rest of the Colorado Avalanche's goalies, Georgiev has an 822 in 6 games. Kakkonen has played 1 game, has an 800. He is looking like the guy that can easily assume that starter position. It's not like Georgiev signed long-term or has this massive cap hit. Annunen might be the future. It probably is the future at this point in terms of the Colorado Avalanche and net. That's why I never liked them. Like after the first couple games, people were like, trade for John Gibson. I'm like, what are you doing? You got a young guy that was really good for you in the NHL as well as the AHL. It's like 24 years old. This guy, I could easily see him play 45 to 50 games, post around the 9-10, similar to what a Stuart Skinner did back in 2023. I'm not saying he's going to win it. If Michkov's fully healthy, if Stankoven's fully healthy, they'd probably be ahead of Annunen. But with Celebrini dealing with injuries, Lane Hudson, prolific offensively, defensively, he's been okay, but nothing special. I think Annunen definitely, if this guy plays 50 games, puts up average advanced stats, but the underlying numbers are average, but the regular stats, save percentage, as well as goals against, are pretty impressive. I think he'll be a Calder finalist. I can definitely see that. And as a result, I'm predicting it. He's 40-1 to win the Calder right now. I would consider sprinkling that. I would definitely consider sprinkling that, considering he's a solid goalie on a really good team that might play the lion's share of the games this season. Zach Werenski, 70 points if healthy. When looking at Werenski last year, 57 points in 70 games. That Columbus team was fifth to last in the entire NHL in goals per game. This year, they're sixth to best. That's not going to maintain, obviously. They're going to go down. They're going to fall into at least middle of the pack. But they're doing this impressive offensive start with a lot of their top forwards that are hopefully going to come back throughout the season out. So when looking at Werenski, this guy has really been an underrated defenseman in Columbus the last couple of years. I think he's really going to get his flowers if he's fully healthy. He's dealt with a lot of injuries. So obviously if he misses 5-10 games, he's not going to be hitting 70 points, but I think he can maintain 70-point pace throughout this season. I really like his two-way game and especially more so his offensive game. This guy's been underrated. Put some respect on his name. Hope he goes for 70. Steven Stamkos, over 30 goals, which I know doesn't sound like that much of a hot take, but I put it up on my Instagram. I said 25 and under at this point, 25 to 30, 30 and over. Only 6% of people said over 30. And again, I'm not saying massively over 30, like 37. Under 25 was like 28%. So a lot of you guys are low on Stamkos. I still think he can hit 31, 32. Yes, he has 1 goal in 9 games thus far, but the underlying numbers are pretty solid. He has 4.1 expected goals, which leads the entire team. It's tied for the lead with Philip Forsberg. Yes, he's not on that top Tampa power play at this point, but he's still on a good top power play. He's playing a minute more this year in Nashville compared to Tampa Bay. And the second line that he's on is still pretty solid. It's Tommy Novak and Gustav Nyquist. So I still think that he can turn it on, especially considering the fact Nashville is going to have to be not flawless the rest of the way, but we're going to have to play damn good hockey in order to make the playoffs compared to Tampa. There wasn't a ton of pressure on them. They were basically locked into that first wild card in like December. So as a result, I think Steven Stamkos is going to catch some heat, and I think he's going to finish with like 31, 32 goals. I know I can't believe I'm like pro Stamkos because I was anti Stamkos this summer, saying his 40-40 season was kind of fake because of the power play. I think he's going to catch fire. He has a lot of people to prove wrong. I think he hits the 31 goal mark and goes above 30 goals. Next up, Cam Talbot should be the Team Canada starter for Four Nations at this point. I am not going to lie. I can't believe I'm saying this, but right now he would be my pick, and I wouldn't be surprised one bit if he is the pick. I think he might be the pick come February. They just have an absolute shit show. When looking at him last year, though, he had a .913 save percentage, was a damn good goaltender. This year has a .913 yet again on a bad defensive wings team. He's 8th in the NHL in goals saved above expected. So in looking at him, a veteran guy that has played with a bunch of players that are probably going to be on this Team Canada team, got some chemistry. I know goaltender chemistry doesn't really much, but he's well respected across the league, and he's pretty consistent when looking at some of the other guys, Aiden Hill, Bennington, Skinner, Montembeault. I think Cam Talbot easily could be the starting goalie. It's not that impressive of a starting goalie to have, but again, the guy's been around the block for the last 12 years compared to some of these guys that have relatively came out of nowhere, or like a Jordan Bennington that has been kind of really up and down in recent years. I would pick Cam Talbot right now. I know that might be crazy. That might be a hot take. And I think that there is a sizable chance. That's the hot take. I think he'll be the starter for Team Canada come Four Nations, as long as he doesn't shit the bed throughout the season for the Detroit Red Wings. There's just far too much uncertainty. Go with the proven veteran instead of some guy that might just completely shit his pants. And then lastly, I'm not moved one iota by the Jets start. I'm not going to lie. In terms of them contending, obviously I'm moved in terms of the regular season standings, that they're basically a lock to make the playoffs after starting 9-1. But in terms of them actually contending, I don't really care about this hot start, especially when you look at it. It is very special teams driven this start. They have 135.1% combined power play and penalty kill right now. That is not sustainable at all. In terms of their 5-on-5 numbers, it does scare me a decent amount. They're 22nd in the NHL in terms of expected goals percentage at 47.62%. In terms of their 5-on-5 offense generation, they have the fourth worst in the NHL in terms of expected goals for per 60. And the defense is more solid. It's 12th in the entire NHL in expected goals against per 60. But yeah, the underlying numbers outside of the special teams, and Connor Hellebuck's going to be great, but I've seen Connor Hellebuck be great in regular seasons, and then they just shit their pants come playoff time. I guess maybe you'd be more bullish on them because Colorado, Nashville's kind of slow at the gate, Edmonton, but I still don't think that they're legit contenders, if that makes sense. I'm not moved by this start, but yes, they are pretty easily going to be a safe playoff team. Right now, if Colorado's fully healthy, if even Nashville are fully healthy, I would pick them over the Winnipeg Jets. I don't think that's being a hater. I think that's just being realistic and knowing what I've seen in prior years and not reacting to a fantastic Winnipeg Jets start. But let me know in the comments, what do you think about these hot takes? Which ones am I absolutely out to lunch with? Which ones do you think is the most realistic, the most unrealistic? And I'll be seeing you in the next one.